Welcome to this Zentangle Quickie. My name is Heather Hartwick Gladden. I'm a Certified Zentangle Teacher. And today we're going to take a look at the Tangle Hypnotic from Elena, and I'm going to say Elena H, because I do not want to do a disservice, Elena, to your name. So, so forgive me. This is a nice tangle. I think it's an oldie but a goodie. I'm trying to remember the year that was listed on Tangle Patterns, but it's a really cool tangle. All right, it's going to be grid based, and I have decided to put my a little solid border around. I should have done the curvies, but I'm already here. All right, and I'm going to do a 9 square so that way we can see more of the full effect of it. You know, sometimes I like to do it in a 4 square because easier to see the steps, we could say, and now easier to see the steps and see what's happening, and then to have it in a larger grid. But sometimes it's just really nice to see it in a little bit larger grid. So it's always one of those things that I try to weigh as I'm both doing my own step outs for these tangles, as well as doing these quickie videos. All right, next step after you have your grid set is we're just going to put some filled in orbs kind of near the corners, and random is fine. I have, for those of you if you follow or you've taken some of my classes, you know that I have some challenges with randomness. And just take a deep breath and just, even something as silly as this. So if you are challenged with randomness as I am challenged with randomness, you know, we'll just have our own little club. and it's all okay. Take a, you know, so I do take a deep breath. And no, there's no such thing as a mistaken Zentangle. Everything will be fine. And just stop worrying about it, because sometimes it is just silly. All right. After you have these random dots in each square, and kind of have them near the corner as I have done, because the next step is we're going to aura each one. Now, I dare say this. Well, you know, we're going to go in each one in... we'll do that in sequence. You could do this either way. You can do each step separately. And maybe just once around. I think in the step out, I know that, trying to remember, I think I stepped out a couple of these, just because. Just because. But really, you could do the whole thing in one box, then move to the next box. That actually might make a heck of a lot more sense to do it that way. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to continue auraing. This is kind of like the Zentangle Original Tangle, which is a mouthful, right? Says, which it starts off with more of a dot. And, you know, you could think of it as this is like says in each little box if you wanted to. But, and I honestly, I did, trying to make these even. And then, well, let me do that again. So, and then when you get to the end, or I wasn't describing, so let me do it again here and describe as I'm doing it. So we're going to actually utilize also the Halabau technique, and that's the art of drawing behind. We're doing the auraing, which is just essentially tracing, right? Or outlining, tracing. All right, so we're outlining. Some days my words, I don't know. And I could do a little bit nicer job if I go a little bit slower. But at the same time, if they're a little wibbly and whatnot like this one, it kind of goes with the effect of the name of Hypnotic. All right, so what I'm doing here, if you notice, is I'm not doing a full circle, obviously, because we're not going to cross anything. But the Halabau technique is essentially this. So say I'm starting my circle there, and I'm coming around. Oh, and I'm going to miss. Oh, you know, and not that you have to have your pen travel for all of that, but that's the concept. And so you want to have each aura'd section look as if you were continuing it, because then you get a really nice effect with that. Okay? And like I said, if if your hands are shaky or your orbs, and that's why we call them orbs. I made the mistake to just calling it a circle a minute ago. But as we do this, like I said, look at how nice that one turned out, and then I'm going, okay, well, that's all right. It's kind of that saying, it is what it is. We just need not worry about that. We can always do it again. There's shading to happen, and lots of other things. Why I'm doing this one in the middle, I don't know, but it's okay. So we're going to do this in each box. And so as you're doing it, especially after the first time that you've done this tangle, then you may have ideas on, next time I do this, I think I will place my those initial dots maybe in a different way, or maybe a little bit further in. But, the hypnotic part comes in because of, them being towards the edges like they are. And also, because this one is highly repetitive, make sure to breathe. I always forget that. No, sometimes I swear I'm like, oh, I'll be tangling, and then all of a sudden in my brain I'll go, you should breathe. And I'm like, oh, and taking a nice full breath type of thing. And sometimes I think, maybe I'm breathing shallow when I'm doing something like this. So, always feel like, take a minute and do a little kind of self-check. Maybe it's, if you have the death grip like I keep working against, maybe you need to stretch your hands a little bit. Take a little hand stretch break, a little eyeball break. Especially something like this where, like I said, it's highly repetitive. We're just doing the same thing. So it's not like you're stopping or, because sometimes when I'm tangling, depending on the pattern, you might take a look back at the, at the step out or something, or just depending on what it is, there might be natural places where you might just shift physically. And like I said, so something like this where we're just doing the same thing. It's just, I guess, I'm trying to think the right words, but I'm thinking it's a different tempo. And I hope that makes sense. And I'm almost done here with this. I was going to put it on pause as I was, if I was to run out of words of wisdom. Also, remember, turn your tile so that way your hand is comfortable. I do like to, when I'm auraing like this, it's always nice to see what you're auraing. So when I'm doing it this way, and yet it's like I end up, for whatever reason, when it's a curve line like this, because of the natural hand curve, I like to do it this way. But at the same time, it's frustrating because I also would like to see what I'm auraing and not have my hand or the pen, blocking a little bit of my view. So it's just kind of funny because it's always a little bit of a I was gonna say crapshoot, but because we have, which is the throw of the dice. It's a game. All right, last one. Sometimes I have to remember some sayings here don't necessarily translate depending on, where you're from as you're listening. All right. And then as I'm doing this, I'm thinking about shading at the same time. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to shade along the grid lines just because. And you see, I think it ends up having a kind of a neat look if your lines aren't necessarily straight. It kind of, like I said, lends to that the hypnotic, and makes me think of our old show that we have here in the U.S. called Twilight Zone. Maybe it's old. Maybe it's hit the reruns where you're at. But, like sci-fi, thrillers, things like that. So it even, even just darkening. And I'm going to just do this inside around the edge here because we can't leave that out. Whoops. This one too, I mean, you wouldn't have to shade it if you didn't want to. Shading, it does add a lot of life, but I know some that they don't care for shading, and that's fine because it's your tangle. You can do what you want with it. All right, now I'm going to actually, I think I'll go around this outer edge first. And that's something else you could do. You could just do this outer edge. So, on whatever it is that that you've used this in, you could just do the outer edge and leave it at that. Just as a thought. Oops, sorry, my hand. Well, it's hard to do this and my hand is in the way. It's just going to be. I try to not have it be in the way. And move these pens here. All right, so you kind of see what that looks like, just like so. And actually, this makes me think, too, if you wanted to, you could, like this, shade the outside and then go over with, either create your grids with a thicker pen, or, just go over it afterwards with a thicker pen. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm doing my circles, but I'm kind of going on both sides of that grid line. So I'm spreading the graphite, again, to both sides at the same time. And you always want to make sure to have some original tile color, because otherwise then the whole thing is just gray. Gray with graphite. Oh, neat. So that's kind of cool. It makes it like they look like it's like they've all of a sudden kind of puffed up. That's cool. Fun things to do with shading. Like I said, it adds life. If you are, if you're afraid to shade, just give it a try. And I always try in my videos to explain as I go, so that way I always like to do things assuming that everybody watching is brand spanking new. So, and my seasoned Tangle friends know that, and I hope are fine with that. So, because I want to see more people have fun with this art form, as I know I am. So, if you enjoyed, would love to have a like, share, subscribe, all of that. In the description box, you will find a link to my step outs, as well as the blog post or Tangle Patterns link, one or the other, or both maybe, and ways to connect with me. So if you're enjoying tangling, if you'd like to do a live class, I do some free I do free classes once a week, 2 times on Thursdays. I'm in Michigan, so that way you know. And which I say that because some of the folks on our call are from different areas of the world, and so sometimes it's Thursday my time and Friday their time, and it's just really bizarre and really cool at the same time. So there's ways to connect with me in that description section, or leave a comment. I can also help that way. But again, I thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I'm not an artist here. I don't think I could draw stick people to save my life, but this Zentangle I can do, and after a good number of years, almost 10, they look pretty good, and it's thrilling to have fun with. So with that, I wish you happy tangling.